Hello there folks, and how is it going? And welcome back to another video, and welcome back to Portugal, and more specifically Porto in Portugal, which is way up north. And today's video is essentially going to be photographing Porto. Thankfully, you know, with the adventure that Orla and I find ourselves on, we kind of have a bit of freedom in relation to how long we can kind of stick around a spot. And this morning I am here to photograph this wonderful lighthouse that's out here. Let me turn you around so you can have a look. It is absolutely beautiful. But the problem is, it's got all these rails on them in front, so I can't really get super duper close to the, to the edge, which is a shame. So I'm gonna have to just figure something out. But it is proving to be a gorgeous morning nonetheless. So let's get ourselves a nice position, get ourselves set up, and let's get shooting. So I have actually been lucky enough to visit Porto a couple of times, and this I think is around my third time. And even all the time Orla and I lived in Portugal, when we lived in the Algarve, we never actually came all the way up here, which is a real shame, because it's a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous city, as we shall explore over the next couple of days. But for my first shot, like I mentioned, I am standing here at this gorgeous lighthouse. I hope you can see here behind me. And I've wanted to photograph this for a long time. And you know, from the last few videos we've been putting out, I do have a bit of a thing for lighthouses. And this morning is proven to be gorgeous. There is a lot of heavy cloud over where the sun is rising, unfortunately. So we may have to wait a little bit to see if we can get a bit of side light. But nonetheless, I have plenty of options in terms of compositions. But right now I'm just standing here, you know, precariously hanging up off the side of this kind of wall, and yeah, it's gorgeous. It's really, really gorgeous. I'm playing around with a different few shutter speeds, and because there's not much happening in the clouds, there's a bit of a empty space between the lighthouse and the clouds. I'm actually then changed to a faster shutter speed. I'm going to see if I can include some birds flying, just to add a bit of extra kind of layer to the frame. But overall, it's proven to be a wonderful morning, and what an absolutely fantastic way of starting this new adventure in photographing here in Porto's lighthouse.
Welcome friends to the ASMR photography studio, and welcome to the first image on this brand new adventure we find ourselves on. And wow, what an absolutely gorgeous morning it was photographing this beautiful lighthouse, the coast of Porto. Now you may be questioning to yourself, but Neil, the water is shot at a long exposure, yet you have some birds in the scene. And yes, you would be correct in surmising that this is a blend of two images. One exactly to capture that long exposure in the water, and then a second image at a higher shutter speed in order to capture those beautiful birds in flight. I do have images without the birds, but for me, I feel like the birds add a nice extra bit of dynamic to the scene and overall depth to the frame. And as a start to this beautiful adventure, a wonderful, wonderful way to begin.
So I have found myself this very nice composition down here on the water's edge. I hope I don't get soaked, but you know, if we do, that's all good, no worries. But it is absolutely gorgeous. I'm hoping that the water can act as a nice kind of leading line and foreground into this wonderful lighthouse that we find ourselves looking at. Let me spin you around here now and show you what we're looking at. So you can kind of see here, can you see? Oh, you can. So you can kind of see here the composition. I'm waiting essentially for the water to come and fill this area, which then ultimately brings us out into this lighthouse that I've got centered up. There's actually quite a nice bit of light happening up in the sky at the minute. No real color, but you know, it's different light, so it adds a bit of extra dynamic to the frame. But other than that, I'm super duper delighted I came down to the water's edge, so let's hope I don't get soaked. But yeah, it's really, really great. So look, if this picture or if the previous picture turned out to be any good, I will pop it up on the screen for you now, and let's continue exploring.
This image is so full of energy, and I absolutely love it for that. And while I did get soaked in the process, it only adds to the story behind this frame. And I am delighted that I took a wander down to the shore's edge. There is a heavy amount of dynamism that flows through this frame, from the choppy sea as it surrounded me on the little rock to the beautiful contrast and almost mirroring in the sky. I am delighted that the clouds rolled through in the way they did and caught that tiny bit of light. It was such a beautiful, beautiful morning to start this adventure.
Of course I got soaked. Of course I got soaked. First day, here we go. But thankfully I was wearing my boots and all that fun stuff, so I feel nice and protected, so I didn't get too wet. But nonetheless, I really hope that picture turned out to be any good, and the previous one. And yeah, so like I say, we're here to explore Porto for the next few days and hopefully capture some nice compelling images of Porto. So yes, let's continue exploring and move on from here and see what else we can see. So folks, here we are in the absolutely beautiful city of Porto. Now, Orla, Senior Spielbergo, do a pan around here so the folks can see what we're looking at while I take my camera bag off. So we were a bit delayed getting out here because we were working, which is totally cool because we need to work. And but the intention is behind this shot. So up there at that white building that you would have seen just a moment ago is a very classic Porto photograph. And the aim of the game is to try and just capture something a little bit different. We are on the other side of the river here. This is the River Douro that essentially travels through Porto. And I am looking to try and capture a blue hour shot of this bridge with these lovely, lovely buildings in the background, and then of course the gorgeous city of Porto behind. So let's set up real quick because the light is fading rapidly. Now folks, while I'm panicking here and losing the light rapidly, can anyone please tell me why this thing doesn't stay in place? I have to do it this way first, and then I have to put it onto my tripod. So I really don't understand why it doesn't lock into place. I have to keep doing it. I don't know, it drives you mad. But anyway, this scene is rapidly evolving, and I really hope I can find that nice balance between the ambient light and the natural light if I can get my camera on. But we are almost there. So when capturing blue hour shots, you are ultimately looking to try and capture a nice balance of ambient and artificial light. And one thing that I really like to do is bracket my exposures, which I'm not even sure I might need to do, considering. Let's take a quick test shot. I think we may have missed that balance, but we shall see, we shall see. So as you can see from the preview at the back of the camera here, this whole area of the image is very dark. So I am going to take a longer exposure because I want that detail. But I like the kind of balance we're getting between the artificial and ambient. So let's take a longer exposure and see if we can do what we needed to do. It's a bit haphazard, but fun times are being had. Look at this view though, isn't it absolutely wonderful? So you can see now we've got a bit of extra detail here in this bottom left, which is nice. So the frame is balanced. So picture this frame blended with that frame, and I might take a shorter one just to have, look at this lovely pink in the sky over here as well. And that way then we can play around with some exposure blending. So, as haphazard and as rushed as this may have seemed, the beautiful thing about Orla and I on this adventure we find ourselves on is that having the freedom in the van basically allows us to come back if we feel like we need to. I have many different photo locations for Porto marked, and while the weather is set to turn really bad, we are thinking that we might just get out of here and then maybe return when the weather picks up a bit, because I do want to get a photograph from that classic spot because it's classic, and also across from the Gaia side of the Douro River looking back into the city as well. So we shall see. But for now, if this particular picture turned out to be any good, I will pop it up on the screen for you now.
This image, yeah, it's a bit of a snapshot. I don't mind it. It's not the greatest image of Porto you're ever going to see, but it was unfortunately a bit haphazard in the timing that we got down to the water's edge. I find it was just the tiniest bit too late to find that nice balance of blue and orange between the natural and artificial. Overall, I think it's a decent enough composition. I did have to crop quite heavily though because of the wall that ran through the bottom of the frame, but I don't mind this crop. I think it helps kind of focus in on the overall scene and that nice gradient of blue into that gold as it goes across the sky. Yeah, it's not so bad. Like, it's just like I say, a bit of a snapshot, but sure, look, it's Porto, and there you go.
Orla and I have had the absolute pleasure of visiting Porto before, many years ago actually it was. Now at this stage I can't remember how long ago it was. How long ago was it? About 8 years ago. One thing that we have found has stood the test of time in us talking about this gorgeous city is the pork sandwich that we are on our way to. This has now become a travel channel, folks. We are on the hunt for some pork after a wonderful, wonderful day exploring. So let's go and eat some pork sandwiches. Porktography, let's do this. So folks, we've been waiting years for this. And in lieu and celebration of this, we got 3. I'm gonna eat 2, but look at them. Wow, it's so juicy. Oh my god, it's amazing. Oh my god. So here we are a few days later, and if you've been following along on Instagram, you would have seen our poor little van has been up on stilts. God, it's been a disaster. Wow. Thankfully it's all happening at the start of the trip, but all is well and the van is back in our hands now. I need to get past these people here. So I am on my way to a very classic viewpoint here in Porto. Let me turn you around, which I can do now. We are essentially heading up there. And it gives a wonderful, wonderful viewpoint of the city and this bridge, which I am crossing at the minute. This is the St. Louis Bridge, which, fun fact, is designed by the same fella who did the Eiffel Tower. Very iron and very awesome looking. So can you see behind me? Yeah. It's pretty high up and it's awesome. So let's get cracking because we've got about half an hour before the sun sets, and let's move on. Hey, you really got a hard push to get up here if you want to get a spot because it would fill up quite quickly. But we are coming to the spot. So let's set up and see if we can make it happen. Well, we have made it to our photography spot for this evening. Now, whether we get any direct light or not remains to be seen, but I seriously doubt it. So what we might be aiming for this evening is a bit more of a blue hour shot
which I have photographed many years ago in the past, and it looks really, really great. So we shall see. If we get some light in the sky, awesome. If not, then sure, what can you do? We shall remain and photograph some blue hour, maybe able to get some long exposures on the case. So let's stick around and let's just chill and take it easy. So this is absolutely magic. We have gotten a tiny bit of light breaking through the clouds, and it is the tiniest bit of color in the sky, and I'm really, really hoping I am able to bring that out in the images. I've actually taken off my 3-stop filter that I had on because I want to try and capture the train. Let me turn you around, there's one going past you right now. I want to try and basically capture that tram in one of the images, and you can see the lovely light there on the left of the frame. So it is absolutely fantastic. So if this image turns out to be any good, I'm going to pop it up on the screen for you now, and then we're going to wait around and see if we can capture another one at blue hour.
You can see now why this particular vantage point is such a wonderful one for photography. Man, I am so delighted with how this particular image turned out, and it was such a joy to be up there. The light was just so gorgeous, and the whole scene was just so beautiful as it unfolded, as you would have seen throughout my mad rambling. This is actually one frame. I managed to capture all that dynamic range within one frame. I just love that gradient in the sky from the gold to the blue, and then of course the gorgeous city below, and I'm super duper happy with how this one turned out. And it's exactly the kind of frame that I was ultimately looking to capture when I headed out to this viewpoint. I do have similar images from years back, but they were bluebird skies, and they didn't turn out so well, but this for me is just absolutely mega. I love this frame.
So folks, fingers and toes crossed, that image you just seen was nice, because this evening is shaping up to be really, really lovely. I'm really just waiting for the lights to come on. I'm going to turn you around. Same composition, nothing has changed, but when the lights in the city start to come on, that's when the magic really starts to happen. So you can see they already have started to come on. But I am waiting for the lights on the far side of the River Douro to turn on, and we shall rapidly fire away then. But even looking at the back of the camera now here, I love spinning this around. This is great. Look at this scene, it is absolutely gorgeous. So I'm just taking multiple exposures, just bracketing just to make sure I have everything in place and ready to go. And yeah, so fun times ahead. So let's keep shooting and let's just enjoy the surroundings. There's not too many people here, so it's nice and quiet, which is a surprise because it's a very popular spot. And yeah, really, really fantastic. So let's keep shooting. Well, what an absolutely wonderful blue hour we have found ourselves in, and my God, can it be painful to see somebody's arm or phone in your picture after it pops up on the back of your screen, but nonetheless, a bit of Photoshop will make that magic happen nonetheless. But it is an absolutely gorgeous spot here, and the idea behind it is just to, like I say, find that nice balance between the artificial and the natural light in our surroundings, and it is a gorgeous, gorgeous scene. So if this picture turns out to be any good, I'm going to pop it up on the screen for you now.
So this is the result of the final image, this kind of blue hour image I was looking to try and capture as the sun set, and really do like the aesthetic of how it all came to be. There was some hands on the left hand side I unfortunately had to crop away, but overall I find the balance between the artificial light and the blue natural light to be quite aesthetically pleasing, and I really do love it. Of course then I captured a frame a bit later in the day to blend in, to turn on these lights that you see across the river behind the bridge on that beautiful white building, and then down on some of that water's edge. To me helps just kind of balance the frame a bit more. I'm really, really happy with how this particular one turned out, and would absolutely recommend you come to this viewpoint if you ever get the opportunity to visit Porto. But for now I'm just super happy that I was able to capture this and process it in the way that I had pre-visualized, so super duper delighted.
Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed that little jaunt around Porto. I need to remember to look at the lens. Porto is such a wonderful, wonderful city, and I would highly recommend, if you have the opportunity to visit, that you simply visit, because it's gorgeous. You can probably do it in maybe like a long weekend or so, and yeah, so if you have any questions about any photo spots, by all means let me know and I'd be happy to share some for you. But where this video ends, next week's begins, and wow, have we got ourselves a special location in store. Let's get ourselves organized and let's get ready for that. But as always, folks, if you enjoyed this video, by all means hit that like button, and if you fancy following along for more of this epic European van life road trip, you are most welcome to hit that subscribe button. But for now, I will see you all on the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Cheers.